The arrival in peace. The galaxy had waited for this day. For centuries. The Council of Races believed humans were the last young species to be guided into harmony. The others had known war, blood, and ruin. But they had also learned peace after. Joining the Council. Now the aliens came to Earth not with weapons, but with open hands, with gifts, with songs. The skies above Earth filled with silver shapes, great ships that carried banners of unity. From the deserts of Africa to the frozen poles, billions of humans lifted their eyes to the heavens. The visitors did not hide themselves. They entered. Orbit with grandeur, letting the world know that peace had arrived. Children pointed. Elders prayed. Soldiers stood at attention. And yet, the soldiers did not lower their weapons. The aliens noticed. On their bridge stood Elder Seraph, an ancient leader of the Zilari, her golden skin shimmering under the starships. Light, she looked upon Earth and spoke softly to her aides. They are tense, even though we come in peace. The aides laughed gently. It is their nature. They are still young. But Seraph's eyes narrowed, because she had seen the human fleets already moving, silent as shadows around their planet. Down below, in the heart of Geneva, the United Earth Assembly prepared to welcome them. The hall was filled with flags. Of every nation, screens beaming the event to every corner of the world. General Marcus Heil stood near the podium, his uniform sharp, his face unreadable. Diplomats whispered, some excited, some afraid. The message from the aliens was clear. We bring peace, we bring friendship. We will teach you to live without war. The moment the first alien delegation landed, silence fell. Their vessel opened. Like a blooming flower, and figures stepped onto Earth soil, tall, graceful, with eyes like glass and voices like music. The Zilari moved as though they were beyond fear, beyond conflict. They carried no weapons, only scrolls of knowledge, crystals that glowed with strange light, and banners marked with unity symbols. People watching on screens gasped in awe for a moment. It felt like the galaxy was offering Earth a miracle. But the soldiers in the background stood stiff, their rifles heavy in their hands. Their commanders had ordered them never to relax, never to lower their guard, because peace could be a mask, and Earth knew masks too well when Elder Seraph raised. Her arms, the air shimmered with energy. Her voice carried across the plaza, across the world. People of Earth, we come with no chains, no threats. Only the wisdom of the stars. Her words were beautiful, her tone gentle. Crowds cheered, some wept, and yet the cameras caught General Hale's jaw tighten. He whispered to the diplomat beside him, "They come with peace, but their fleets are armed, their weapons hidden. Do not be fooled." The diplomat shivered. "General, they are here to unite us." But Hale only answered, "Unity always costs something. The question is what they demand." In orbit, human ships glided in. Silence. The Uns valiant, a carrier bigger than mountains. Shifted position, its railguns quietly charging. Pilots waited in their cockpits, staring at the alien vessels that drifted like silver birds above the Earth. There was no war yet, but every man and woman in those ships felt it could begin at any second. The galaxy thought humanity was reckless, but humans had learned through history that peace without caution was only another name for defeat. Back in the plaza, a boy broke through the crowd, holding a flower. He ran up to the alien delegation, his small hands trembling. Elder Seraph bent low, smiled, and accepted the gift. The people clapped. The moment replayed across every screen. On Earth, for many, it was proof that peace was possible. But in the control room nearby, intelligence officers whispered urgent reports. Multiple alien drones scanning the city. They claim it is for security, but the scans reach our defense. Grids. The officer in charge narrowed his eyes. Peace does not scan missile silos. Night fell across Earth. But the ships in orbit shone like stars. People celebrated, believing war was over before it had begun. But deep in hidden bunkers, Human leaders spoke in hushed tones. They want us to disarm. They want us to open every shield, every fortress. They come smiling, but they walk like conquerors. General Hall stood before the assembly of commanders. His voice steady. We will accept their peace. We will honor their gifts, but our fleets will not rest. Not now, not ever. And far above, in her starship, Elder Sereth gazed down at Earth's oceans and cities. Her aide asked, "Why do they guard themselves so fiercely when we have promised no harm?" She did not answer immediately. Her eyes traced the patterns of human warships moving like predators in the dark. Finally, she whispered, "Because they know something the galaxy has forgotten. Peace does not last." The first day ended with smiles on the surface and shadows in the sky. The world believed a new age had begun. But those who watched closely felt the tension, the unspoken truth. The aliens sought peace, but humanity had already sharpened its answer. The first misunderstanding, the second day of the alien visit, began with bright skies and banners flying over every city. News anchors across the world declared that humanity had entered a golden age. Markets soared, people filled the streets with celebrations, and children painted alien symbols on their faces. But in the halls of power, silence and unease clung. Like a shadow in Geneva, the aliens gathered with Earth's leaders inside a great chamber made of glass and steel. The walls showed live views of the stars, and the alien ships glittering above the planet. Elder Sereth stood at the center, calm and radiant, her robes flowing like water. Around her, diplomats smiled politely, but the human generals watched. Her every move, "Humans," Sereth began, her voice soft yet heavy with authority. "You have suffered wars, you have bled, you have lost. Now we bring you peace that will last forever." Her aides stepped forward and laid scrolls on the table. The scrolls unfolded into glowing maps of Earth, highlighting military bases, fleets, and weapons of mass destruction. The humans stiffened, their eyes narrowing. General Hale leaned forward, his jaw clenched. "You mapped our weapons," he said in a low voice. The alien aide smiled. "We map because we want to remove them. Peace cannot grow in the shadow of war." Hale's voice was steady, but his eyes burned. "You ask us to lay down our defenses, to trust that you and your council will protect us." Sereth lifted her chin. "Yes, that is the way of the galaxy. Peace comes when weapons are abandoned." The diplomats murmured among themselves, some nodding, some frowning. One human ambassador whispered to another, "If we refuse, the galaxy will think us savage." But Hale's voice cut through the chamber, sharp as steel. "And if we accept, who will guard us when peace fails?" The aliens looked surprised, as if the question was strange to them. One Zilari delegate laughed softly. "Peace never fails. War fails. Only war brings ruin." Hale's hand pressed flat against the table. "Tell that to the people who trusted before, and then saw their homes burned." On the screens, the alien maps shifted, now showing council fleets circling the outer systems. The aide gestured. "See, we can protect you. Our ships will shield your world from harm." But to the humans watching, it looked less like protection and more like a net that could tighten around Earth at any moment. Back in orbit, the UN's Valiant intercepted signals from the alien vessels. Encrypted messages passed between them, quick, hidden, but not hidden well enough. Earth intelligence cracked fragments of the code. The words they read chilled every officer on the ship. Phase 1 complete. Negotiations progressing. Human fleets remained restless. The captain of the Valiant sent the message down to Geneva. General Hale received it during the council session. His face did not change, but his eyes hardened as he stared at Elder Sereth. She continued to speak of peace, but Hal heard only the whisper of chains. The misunderstanding deepened when a gift was presented. The aliens unveiled a glowing orb, pulsing with light. They explained it was a harmony core. a device that could disarm all nuclear weapons in an instant. The crowd gasped in wonder, but Hale's soldiers stiffened. To them, it was not a gift, but a threat technology that could strip Earth of defense with a single breath. When the single breath. When the Humans hesitated to accept it. Sareth frowned. Why do you resist? Do you not want freedom from fear? She asked, her voice still calm but sharper now. General Hala answered, because freedom from fear does not come by removing our shields. It comes by keeping them strong. The chamber grew cold, the air heavy with silence. Across the galaxy, observers tuned into the broadcast. Other species whispered, some mocking humanity's stubbornness, others uneasy at the aliens' demands. In the shadows of back channels, smugglers, mercenaries, and forgotten races nodded with respect. Humans do not bow, one pirate said, raising a glass in a dark tavern. They know peace can be a leash, another replied. By nightfall, the celebrations on Earth had dimmed. The streets were quieter. The news channels spoke with careful words. People still wanted peace, but doubts had crept into their hearts. Why had the aliens mapped Earth's weapons? Why had they brought a device that could disable them all? And why did the human generals look like men preparing for war? In her ship above Earth, Elder Sareth sat in silence. Her aide asked, why do they not trust us? Sareth's golden eyes glowed faintly in the dark, because they carry scars. The galaxy has chosen to forget, she said. Her aide whispered, do you think they will ever lay down their weapons? Sareth's answer was soft, heavy as stone. No, and that may be their greatest danger or their greatest strength. The day ended not with joy, but with whispers. Peace had been offered, but suspicion had grown. The galaxy watched closely. As the first cracks appeared in the dream of unity, the misunderstanding was simple, but deadly. The aliens believed trust was surrender. The humans believed trust was earned. When words turned to shadows, the third day of the visit was meant to be a day of unity. The council planned a great meeting where humans and aliens would speak openly before billions of viewers across the galaxy. The stage was set in Geneva, lights shining, cameras ready, and banners of both Earth and the Council hung side by side. But beneath the bright lights, shadows had already formed. General Hale arrived in his dark uniform, his face calm but unreadable. Elder Sareth stood tall, her golden skin glowing in the hall, her voice soft as she spoke of trust, of peace, of unity. The crowd clapped. The broadcasts praised her words, and yet the humans did not smile. Behind every cheer was the weight of doubt. Behind every promise was a question left unanswered. Sareth raised her arms. Let this day mark the end of war for Earth. Her aides pressed glowing tablets across the table, agreements written in the Council's language. The words promised protection, trade, shared knowledge, but at the cost of one thing. Humanity's fleets, their weapons, their defenses. The diplomats hesitated, some leaning forward eagerly, others glancing nervously at Hall. Hale's voice was steady, sharp as a blade. You ask us to destroy what has kept us alive, to burn the very shields that kept our world from ruin. The alien aides exchanged glances. One stepped forward, his tone impatient. Do you not understand, General? Peace cannot live beside weapons. Hale leaned closer, his voice low, his words measured. And yet every one of your fleets in orbit carries weapons, hidden under banners of peace. The hall fell into silence. The crowd murmured. Cameras zoomed in on the alien faces. Sareth tried to smooth the tension. Our weapons protect. They do not destroy. Hale's eyes narrowed. So you claim. Until the day you choose to strike. At that moment, Earth's representatives revealed something the galaxy had not expected. A giant screen lit up, showing images not from Earth, but from other worlds. Footage collected by hidden probes, reports, gathered from the edges of forgotten colonies, scenes of council fleets arriving on alien planets, offering peace, then demanding surrender. Civilizations that had resisted were left broken, their leaders replaced, their armies disarmed, their cultures bent to the will of the council. The hall erupted in gasps. The alien delegates shouted in protest. "This is false. This is twisted," they cried. But the humans did not shout. They only let the images play. One after another, villages in flames, orbital bombardments cloaked as corrective strikes, a dozen worlds silenced in the name of harmony. For the first time, the galaxy saw a different face of the council, not saviors, but rulers, not peacekeepers, but masters. The humans had turned words into shadows, revealing what lay hidden beneath the light. Elder Sereth's voice trembled as she spoke. "You do not understand. Those worlds resisted order. They would have spread chaos if left alone." Hale's gaze was like stone. "Chaos or freedom?" he asked. The question echoed in the chamber, heavy as iron. The alien aides whispered, frantically, sending messages back to their fleets. Human intelligence intercepted every signal, tracing them, decoding them. The words were chilling. Human resistance stronger than expected. Council authority must be enforced. Prepare contingencies. In orbit, human ships shifted, their engines burning quietly as they took new positions. The council ships mirrored them, a silent dance of steel in the dark sky. Neither side fired, but the tension was like a storm waiting to break. On Earth, whispers spread among the people. Some still longed for peace, believing the council could be trusted. Others began to doubt, to wonder if humanity was being trapped. Families watching the broadcast asked each other the same question. If peace costs freedom, is it truly peace? That night, General Hall stood before the Earth Assembly. His voice was low, his words heavy. They came offering peace. But behind their words we see shadows. Behind their gifts we see chains. He looked at the leaders of Earth, one by one. Peace is not the absence of weapons. Peace is the strength to defend ourselves, so we never bow to another master. The assembly was divided, some fearful, some inspired. But across the galaxy, the message spread like fire. For the first time, another species had spoken against. The council, not with trembling voices, but with steel in their tone. For the first time, the galaxy saw that humans were not afraid to stand alone, and in her ship high above the planet, Elder Sereth watched the broadcast replay. Her aide whispered, "They will not surrender. They will not join us like the others." Sareth's eyes glowed faintly in the dark. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "Then peace will die, and war will rise." The day ended with silence across Earth. The Council's promise of peace no longer shone like light, but flickered like a dying flame. Words had turned to shadows. And from the shadows, war was beginning to take shape. The first clash the fourth day began with silence. The streets that once cheered were now quiet. Televisions flickered with news of doubt. And the skies above Earth glowed with the shadows of fleets. The council ships drifted like silver clouds, beautiful but heavy with threat. The human fleets moved like predators, silent, watchful, always ready. In Geneva, the air was thick with unease. Meetings stretched through the night, words exchanged in careful tones. But the truth was clear. Neither side trusted the other. Elder Sereth spoke of patience, of harmony, of healing the fear in human hearts. But General Hale saw only tactics, only movements on the board of war. "They are not waiting for peace," he told his officers. "They are waiting for an opening." The first clash did not come with fire, but with shadows. It began when 3 alien cruisers moved into the asteroid belt beyond Mars. They claimed it was a navigation error, a drift caused by gravity pulls. But Earth's sensors told another story. The cruisers had powered weapons, their scans aimed directly at human outposts. The UN's Valiant intercepted them first, its massive hull cutting through the black void. Captain Rena Ortiz stood at the command deck, her voice calm but cold. "Signal the alien ships. Tell them to withdraw immediately. The signal was sent. The answer returned, smooth and polite. This is a mistake. Our ships only seek to correct course. But the scans continued. Deeper, sharper, piercing the shields of the outpost, Ortiz gave one short order. Deploy fighters, no shots unless fired upon. And like birds of steel, human craft surged from the Valiant, surrounding the alien cruisers in tight formation. For hours they drifted there, locked in a silent standoff. The galaxy watched. Feeds broadcast across thousands of worlds. The aliens smiled, saying nothing was wrong. The humans stood firm, refusing to yield. And in that moment, the galaxy saw something it had not seen in centuries. A race unwilling to step back, even. Before the Great Council fleets, in Geneva, Halley received the reports, his face unreadable. He turned to the assembly, his voice steady. This is no error. They are testing us, measuring our response. The diplomats trembled, some begging him not to escalate. But Hale's reply was simple. If we show weakness now, we will never rise again. Back in orbit. The alien cruisers shifted, their weapons dimming, their engines burning as they pulled away. They had not fired a single shot, but the message was clear. They had tested Earth, and Earth had not bowed. Yet the clash was not over. Later that same night, alarms roared across a human outpost on Titan. Alien drones appeared, dozens of them, slipping through the ice clouds like silver ghosts. They carried no banners, no symbols, only scanners and weapons that pulsed with hidden fire. The outpost. Soldiers fired warning shots. The drones did not retreat. A firefight erupted in the frozen dark, bullets and lasers slicing the icy sky. The battle was short, but brutal. The drones fell, shattered across Titan's surface, but 3 soldiers lay dead, and the rest stood in stunned silence. For humanity, the illusion of peace had broken. This was no misunderstanding. This was no accident. This was the first clash. The news spread. Like wildfire on Earth, families mourned, cities rioted, and the assembly roared with anger. The council called it an error. Rogue machines, out of control, they claimed. But no one believed them. Not anymore. The shadow of war had finally crossed the line into blood. General Halley stood before the soldiers of Earth, his voice deep, his tone iron. They said they came for peace, but they bring us death. The soldiers raised their fists, their voices thundering. No surrender, no retreat. Above Earth, the fleets shifted again. Alien ships spread wider, their formation now sharp. No longer a shield, but a blade. Human. Warships answered, their guns lit with power, their engines burning like fire across the stars. The clash had begun, not yet with full war, but with every step that pointed toward it. In her flagship, Elder Sareth listened to the reports. Her aides whispered nervously, "The humans are too aggressive. They will bring destruction on themselves." But Sareth did not look nervous. Her golden eyes glowed as she stared at Earth. "They are not like the others," she whispered. "They do not bend. They do not yield." She closed her eyes, and for the first time, she felt fear. The first clash had come with shadows and drones, with lies and blood. It would not be the last. The galaxy held its breath, for the storm was coming, and in the dark silence of space, the humans sharpened their answer. Peace was broken. Trust was gone. Only the art of war remained. Asterisk, the art of war revealed. The galaxy held its breath after the Titan clash. Whispers spread across stars, across colonies, across trading hubs. Were the humans reckless, or were they dangerous? No one had the answer yet, but all eyes turned to Earth. The council called for a demonstration. They claimed it was to rebuild trust, to show the galaxy that weapons were not needed. They demanded humans open their fleets for inspection. But General Hall had another idea. "If they want to see what we are, then let them see everything," he said, his voice like steel. A date was set, the location chosen, deep in the void. Near Jupiter, far from cities, far from civilians, the galaxy tuned in. Millions of ships connecting to the broadcast, alien leaders gathered in grand halls. Citizens huddled around glowing screens. The council waited with smug smiles, believing humanity would show weakness. On the chosen day, the human fleets rose like mountains of steel. Carriers, destroyers, and gunships formed vast formations. The Un's Valiant stood at the heart, its hull gleaming like iron fire. General Hale gave the signal, his words echoing through every human vessel. Let them see who we are. The demonstration began first. Human drones surged forward, swarming in tight formations. They spun and broke apart, reforming like rivers of metal. Their weapons fired in perfect rhythm, striking dead targets across the void. Every shot landed with precision. Every move was sharp. The aliens watching leaned forward, their smug smiles fading. Next came the railguns. From the carriers, giant weapons powered up, their coils glowing bright blue. One by one, they fired. Projectiles screamed through the black, faster than the eye could follow. They tore through asteroids as if they were glass, splitting mountains into dust. The galaxy gasped. Even the hardened warriors of other races shivered. But humanity was not finished. The fleets moved into a new pattern, one never seen before. Their ships shifted like dancers, weaving between each other. Destroyers shielded carriers. Frigates darted ahead, baiting invisible targets. It was not chaos. It was not wild. It was art, the art of war, written in steel and fire. On Earth, billions cheered, their voices roaring through the air. Across the galaxy, silence fell. The council delegates who had once mocked humanity sat frozen, their eyes wide. They had expected brute force, blind power. What they saw instead was mastery, a species that treated war not as destruction, but as design. At the climax, the Valiant launched its final display. Thousands of fighters burst from its belly, splitting into wings. Each wing moved like a brushstroke, carving the void into patterns of death. Together they formed a living storm, a storm that no enemy could survive. And when the storm ended, silence remained, the void littered with shattered asteroids and glowing debris. General Hale's voice carried through the broadcast, steady, cold, unshaken. You asked us to lay down our arms, to prove we could trust. But we have learned through blood that peace without strength is a chain. We do not seek war, but if war finds us, let the galaxy remember this day. The council chamber erupted in arguments, some shouting for sanctions, others demanding caution. But among the smaller races, among the forgotten colonies, the reaction was different. For the first time, they saw a species that might stand against the council. For the first time, they saw hope. Elder Seraph sat in her flagship, her golden hands trembling slightly. Her aides whispered, "They cannot be allowed to rise. They are too dangerous." But Seraph's eyes were fixed on the screen, replaying the patterns of human fleets. Her voice was quiet, heavy with awe. No, they are not dangerous because they fight. They are dangerous because they understand. On Earth, the people celebrated through the night. Fires lit the skies, cities glowed with joy. But in the military halls, Hale stood silent, his face carved in stone. He knew what the demonstration meant, not just power, but challenge. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. In the shadows of space, pirate lords, mercenaries, and broken empires whispered the same words. They do not just fight, they master it. And those words spread like fire across the stars. Aliens had come seeking peace, but they had found something far older, far sharper, the art of war, the battle. No one wanted the galaxy had seen the demonstration. They had seen the precision, the mastery, the storms of steel, and though many watched in awe, the council watched with fear, for if humanity could fight like that, then humanity could not be controlled. 3 nights after the display, The first Council fleet arrived at the edge of human space. Dozens of cruisers and dreadnoughts, their hulls shining with banners of peace. But their weapons glowed hot beneath the surface. They sent a message to Earth, calm and polite. Stand down. Let us inspect your fleets. Let us remove your weapons, or we will act. General Hale stood before the assembly, the message repeating. Across the screens, diplomats trembled, some begged to surrender, some cried out for compromise. But Hale's voice cut through like iron. They say they come for peace, but they bring fleets. They say they want trust, but they demand chains. We will not kneel. The order was given. Earth's fleets surged forward. Railguns humming, engines burning. The Uns Valiant took the lead, its massive form casting shadows across the void. And in the cold silence of space, the Council Armada spread into attack formation. The first shot was not fired by humans, a Council. Cruiser released a blast of plasma, searing through the void toward a human destroyer. The destroyer twisted away, the shot grazing its side. Sparks flew, alarms screamed, but the ship lived. And then the humans answered. Railguns thundered, missiles streaked, fighters swarmed like hornets. The void lit up with fire. A battlefield carved from black space. Council ships fired in formation. But the humans moved with precision. Every strike was answered. Every gap covered. The storm of war had begun on Earth. The people watched in horror and pride. Every city lit up with broadcasts. Families huddled together as the sky filled with the voices of war. Children clutched their parents. Elders prayed. And through it all, the name of humanity spread across. The stars. We will not kneel. The Council underestimated them. They thought humanity's strength was in weapons alone. But as the battle raged, it became clear the true power of humanity was in their unity, their discipline, their refusal to break. Where one ship faltered, another filled the gap. Where one fighter was struck down, two more rose to strike. The Council's dreadnoughts unleashed storms of plasma, but human railguns tore through their shields. The Valiant cut through enemy formations like a blade, its wings of fighters carving patterns in the dark. It was not chaos. It was design. It was war as art. The battle lasted hours. Explosions rippled across the void. Fleets broke apart. Signals screamed through every channel. At last, the Council ships began to fall back, their banners of peace burned away by the fire of war. Dozens of their vessels drifted broken, while the human fleet still held the line. On Titan, where soldiers buried the dead from the drone attack, cheers erupted as the news came in. On Mars, miners lifted their fists to the stars, shouting the name of Earth. And across distant colonies, forgotten peoples whispered with hope. If humans can fight the Council, maybe we too can rise. But victory had a cost. Ships burned, crews lost, families wept on Earth. The assembly stood in silence as casualty reports streamed in. And still, General Hale's voice was steady. They came with fleets to bind us, but we have shown them we will not bow, we will not break. High above Earth, in her flagship, Elder Seraph listened to the broken voices of her fleet, her aides, wept, begging her to retreat fully, to end the war before it grew. But Seraph only stared at Earth, her golden eyes filled with fire and sorrow. They were supposed to learn peace. She whispered, "Instead, they have taught us war. The Council called it a tragedy. The humans called it survival. The galaxy called it the first true war. In centuries, and though the battlefield quieted, no one believed it was over. The lesson was clear. Peace had died, and the battle no one wanted had begun. Asterisk. The lesson that echoed the battlefield near Jupiter was silent now. Shattered ships drifted like broken bones across the void. Flames burned without air. Debris floated in endless circles. The galaxy had witnessed the first war in centuries, and it would never forget. On Earth, the skies glowed with transmissions. News of victory and loss. Families wept for the fallen, but their tears carried pride. For the first time, humanity had stood against the Council and survived. For the first time, the galaxy knew Earth would never bow. In Geneva, the assembly was filled with voices. Some shouting for peace, some crying for more war. Diplomats feared the Council's revenge. Merchants feared their trade routes would close. But the soldiers stood in silence, their eyes steady, their hearts burning with iron. General Hall arose. From his seat, his presence filling the chamber. We did not seek this war, but we did not run from it. And the galaxy now knows the truth. Humanity does not kneel. The words carried beyond the chamber, spreading through broadcasts, through signals, through whispers, across forgotten colonies. Slaves in chains looked up and whispered the name of Earth. Pirates raised their cups and cheered, rebels in. Hiding sharpened their blades with hope. A new fire had been lit in the galaxy, and its spark was human. High above the planet, Elder Sereth stood within her flagship. She stared at the ruins of her fleet, her hands trembling, her golden eyes dim with sorrow. Her aide whispered, "We thought they were children. We thought they could be guided, but they are wolves hiding in lamb's skin." But Sereth shook her head slowly. "No, not wolves, something else," she whispered. "They are artists, and their canvas is war." Her words spread quietly among the council leaders. Some raged, demanding humanity be crushed. Others trembled, knowing it could not be done easily. The council's mask of peace had cracked. The galaxy had seen its shadow. But more dangerously, the galaxy had seen Earth's answer. In the weeks that followed, strange things began to happen. Small worlds once loyal to the Council stopped sending tribute. Broken races that had bent their knees for centuries began to whisper of rebellion. And everywhere those whispers grew louder, one name was always spoken: Earth. Human fleets returned to their stations, scarred but unbroken. The Valiant drifted back into orbit, its hull pocked with fire, but its guns still sharp. Every pilot, every soldier, every sailor carried the same pride. They had not fought only for survival. They had fought for a lesson. The lesson was simple. Peace was not given. It was defended. Strength was not cruelty. It was survival. And humanity, though young, understood what the galaxy had forgotten. War was not only blood and death. War was discipline. War was art. And in that art, humans had no equal. General Hale addressed the world one last time, his voice steady, his eyes like steel. "They came seeking to teach us peace, but it was humanity that taught them. We showed them that peace without strength is nothing but surrender. And now the galaxy knows we will not bow, we will not break, and if war comes again, we will master it as we always have." On distant worlds, children repeated those words in hushed tones. On council ships, commanders replayed the footage of human fleets moving like storms. In hidden taverns, smugglers laughed and said, "The council bleeds now, because humanity showed them how to fear." And in her private chamber, Elder Sereth closed her eyes. Her people sang songs of mourning for the dead, but she sang nothing, only whispering to herself. They sought peace, but they showed us war, and the galaxy will never be the same again. The stars burned on, silent witnesses to the change. The ruins of ships circled endlessly, reminders of a war that had begun not by choice, but by necessity. And in that silence, the galaxy carried a new truth. Aliens had sought peace, but humanity had shown them the art of war, and that lesson would echo forever. Asterisk.